The rifle report echoed across the range like a crack of thunder, sharp and final, cutting through the dry desert air. For a split second, everything froze. Dust hung in the sunlight. The steel target at 600 meters rocked violently, its center shattered clean through. No warning call had been given. No permission requested. Just one perfect shot, delivered with ruthless precision. Every Navy SEAL on the firing line turned at the same time. These were men who lived around gunfire, men who trained with live rounds flying inches from their bodies, men who didn't flinch easily. But this was different. This wasn't part of the drill. This wasn't scheduled, and no one had been cleared to fire. Voices rose instantly. Questions turned into sharp demands. Fingers came off triggers as instructors stepped forward, scanning the line. Someone shouted for the range to go cold. Another SEAL slammed his helmet onto the bench, eyes burning as he tried to locate the shooter. Who took that shot? Someone yelled. Silence answered back at first. Not the nervous kind, but the heavy, deliberate kind that made the moment stretch longer than it should have. Then boots moved. Slow, confident, measured. She stepped forward from the far end of the range, where most people hadn't even noticed anyone lying prone. She rose smoothly, dust brushing off her uniform, rifle cradled against her shoulder as if it weighed nothing. She was calm in a way that unsettled people. No rush, no apology, no visible concern. The SEALs stared. Confusion flickered across their faces, quickly replaced by irritation. She wasn't part of their platoon. She wasn't wearing their patch. And she was definitely not someone they recognized. One of the senior SEALs stepped forward, anger written openly on his face. "You just fired on an active range without clearance," he snapped. "Who the hell do you think you are?" She stopped a few feet away from him and stood at ease. Her eyes were steady, unreadable. When she spoke, her voice was level, almost quiet, but it carried. "Range safety violation acknowledged." That only made things worse. A few of the men scoffed. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Someone muttered something under his breath about civilians being allowed too close to military exercises. Another SEAL moved closer, jaw tight. "You don't get to acknowledge anything here. You explain yourself." Now, she didn't respond immediately. Instead, she reached up and removed her eye protection, revealing eyes that had seen far more than most people ever would. Combat eyes. The kind that didn't blink when chaos erupted. Before she could speak again, the range officer hurried over, clearly alarmed. "What happened here?" he demanded. Multiple voices answered at once. "Unauthorized fire. Unknown shooter. Dangerous breach." The range officer's gaze landed on her, and something subtle changed. He looked at her uniform more carefully. Then at the insignia on her chest. Then again, slower this time, as if his brain needed a moment to catch up. His posture straightened instantly. His tone shifted. "Ma'am," he said carefully. The SEALs noticed it immediately. The anger didn't vanish, but it hesitated. One of them frowned. "Ma'am." She turned slightly so the light hit her rank insignia clearly. And that was when the range froze in a way none of them expected. "Lieutenant Commander." The air seemed to drain from the place. Conversations died mid-sentence. The SEAL who had been shouting earlier went silent, his expression hardening into disbelief. A female officer with that rank didn't just appear on a SEAL range by accident. She finally spoke again. "I was instructed to evaluate long-range marksmanship under unscheduled conditions." The range officer swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." The SEALs exchanged looks. Some were confused. Some were irritated. A few were clearly unsettled. Pride ran deep among them, and the idea that someone had just fired a perfect shot without their knowledge didn't sit well. One of the senior operators crossed his arms. "With respect, ma'am, this is a SEAL training exercise." She met his gaze without hesitation. "With respect, Chief, this is a joint evaluation range." That shut him up. She walked past them toward the target monitors. Each step was unhurried, deliberate. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, and somehow that made it worse. 600 meters, she said calmly. Crosswind from the west. Slight mirage distortion. Target was compromised but still viable. One of the instructors stared at the screen, zooming in on the impact. Dead center. No deviation. No correction needed. A low whistle escaped someone before they could stop it. The SEALs didn't speak for a moment. They didn't like being surprised. They liked it even less when the surprise was undeniable skill. The senior SEAL finally broke the silence. "You could have warned us." She turned to face him. "Combat doesn't warn." That landed harder than any insult could have. She explained then, briefly, that she was attached to a special evaluation unit. That her role wasn't to compete with them, but to measure adaptability. To test reactions. To see how elite units responded when control was taken away. "And how did we do?" someone asked, half challenging, half curious. Her lips curved just slightly. "You noticed." That earned a few reluctant smirks. Tension eased, but respect was beginning to settle in, whether they liked it or not. As the exercise resumed, she remained on the range, observing, occasionally offering quiet corrections that were impossible to argue with. Every suggestion she made resulted in tighter groupings. Better wind calls. Faster adjustments. By the end of the session, the same men who had demanded answers earlier were watching her with something closer to admiration. Not because she was a woman. Not because of her rank. But because she had earned it the only way that mattered to them. Before she left, she paused and looked back at the range. "You're good," she said. "But never assume you're the best one out here." Then she was gone, leaving behind a lesson none of them would forget. And if you enjoyed this kind of intense, realistic military storytelling, don't forget to subscribe to the channel Bravo Warrior Stories, where we bring you powerful moments of courage, discipline, and untold stories from the world of elite warriors. Because on the battlefield, and in life, respect isn't given. It's earned.